Coming up, a West El Paso crash yesterday left one woman dead. Details on the deadly collision and what police say happened after conducting their investigation. Then global trade could be heavily impacted by the outcome of President Trump's multi-stop trip to Asia, what's currently on the line, and the administration's plans for negotiations amid a continuing tariff war. And Halloween is officially on our 9-day board with gusty conditions and a cool front in store. I have details on how this weekend and next are shaping up. That's all coming up on KTSM 9 News Plus, and it starts right now.
You're watching KTSM 9 News First at 4. Starts right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to KTSM 9 News First at 4. I'm Tirza Ortiz. We're currently working to learn more about a crash involving a pedestrian. First responders and rescue crews on that scene of the crash. According to police, the call came in around 9:30 this morning at Stanton and 7th in downtown El Paso. A spokesperson with the El Paso Fire Department tells us one person was taken to the hospital with serious injuries, and we still don't know who was injured or what led up to the crash. This is a developing story. Stay with KTSM on air and online for more updates. A motorcyclist is dead after a crash in West El Paso yesterday. El Paso police say a 65-year-old woman was killed when she was thrown from her motorcycle. It happened on the intersection of Wrestler and High Ridge. Police say Yolanda Rainey of Oklahoma was riding her motorcycle at about 2:30 yesterday afternoon when she approached the intersection. She attempted to make a left turn onto High Ridge and she hit a curb and then was thrown into a rock wall. She suffered serious injuries and was taken to the hospital where she later died. And we are learning new details about a man arrested at a concert in Fabens last weekend after allegedly shooting another concert goer. New court documents obtained by KTSM say 39-year-old Orlando Alfonso Corona allegedly shot and injured his ex-wife's boyfriend for allegedly vandalizing his truck. As we told you before, this happened last Saturday at a concert and off-roading event at the Tequila Center. Court documents say Corona fired 3 or 4 shots at the victim, who was not identified by police. Corona was booked into the El Paso County Detention Facility on one count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. His bond was set at $200,000. A 33-year-old man has been arrested by the El Paso County Sheriff's Office for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The Sheriff's Office said they responded to Bill Street in Fabens and found that Angel Portillo intentionally collided his truck into a gray Chevrolet Camaro. After the crash, Portillo got out of his car and assaulted the driver of the Camaro before running from the scene. He was later found at a home on Meadowland where he was arrested. His bond is $40,000. Well, UTEP is taking a major step forward in a plan to bring a law school to the Borderland. UTEP says their research shows that a legal education is needed in our region. KTSM 9 News reporter Diana Castillo has this report.
There are only 3 cities in America as large as El Paso that don't have a law school.
And the goal is to change that. Now, back in 2023, the Texas legislature ordered a feasibility study to see if a law school would even be possible in this region. And it turns out it is. The study found that there's a shortage of attorneys in far west Texas and projected a UTEP law school could eventually support about 100 students per year.
Feasibility study showed that. It's across the board, but there are particular areas in international, public and private international law, and also fluently bilingual attorneys where there's a shortage in all of Texas.
Now, following that study, House Bill 3475 was filed earlier this year, an effort to authorize a public law school in El Paso. State Representative Vince Perez authored the bill.
It passed through the House. It didn't get a hearing on the Senate side. But nonetheless, the fact that we were able to get it to the House is a big step.
And now another big step. The Paul L. Foster Family Foundation is offering a $5 million matching grant, meaning local donations will be matched dollar for dollar to help UTEP launch the law school. Now, UTEP leaders say this funding is about showing that there's real community support behind the plan. support they need before taking it back to lawmakers. And a big part of that push is tied to need, because prosecutors say they're already feeling the impact of not having enough attorneys here at home.
For the past 4 years, the district attorney's office has really suffered from a staffing shortage, and we've recruited over 20 lawyers to the DA's office, but they've all come from other offices. They've come from the county attorneys, they've come from the public defender's office, they're people in private practice, and so, because I've hired them, now there's vacancies in other offices.
UTEP President Wilson says if everything goes according to plan, students could be walking into their first law classes at UTEP by 2029. All right, let's go ahead and put a pause on our headlines to get a live look outside using our tower camera. It was another beautiful fall day. We are looking at partly cloudy skies, but still that little bit of blue on top. Overall looking good. Some breezy conditions though out the door. We are currently looking at very dry conditions though for a good portion of the borderland. If you want to take a look, really the only thing is towards the east, we do have some thunderstorm watches that we are monitoring, but across the rest of the region, really looking quite dry, which is great for the weekend. Really nothing is worse than having the rainy conditions mixed with some breezy winds, but it looks like we're not going to have that. Currently though, we are looking at a little bit stronger wind gusts, 22 miles per hour in El Paso, 23 over in Las Cruces, Juarez at 17 with Deming at 24, and Silver City also looking at 22. And I did say we are going to continue to be looking at beautiful conditions as we continue moving through the rest of the weekend. We do have the green light set for our car wash forecast. We'll be dropping down to 78 degrees for our Saturday, so really ideal conditions, very close to seasonal, where we are going to go ahead and stick for our Sunday and our Monday. Very warm breezes really to close out that weekend, and then just plenty of sunshine to begin your work week. Ending our final week of October, if you can believe it, we are looking at just beautiful sunshine, but we do have a change coming up. We are looking at a cool front entering our region, and on top of that, we are also looking at those temperatures doing a little bit of a rebound, going to warmer conditions as well after that cool front. I will have a full breakdown though, including your Halloween forecast coming up in just a little bit. But let's go ahead and take a look at our traffic using our TxDOT traffic cameras right now. It is currently 4:07, and when we look at Loop 375 and Railroad, going both directions, really not a lot to be looking at. When we take a look at I-10 and Trowbridge, it looks like a little bit more traffic, but it's moving pretty steadily. Really no major backups to report, and luckily no accidents. So if you are heading out the door, either going home or maybe doing some last-minute grocery shopping, whatever your afternoon plans may be, it looks like things are looking good on I-10. This is a look at I-10 in Geronimo. Overall, pretty good conditions. In national news, global trade could be heavily impacted by the outcome of President Trump's multi-stop trip to Asia. NewsNation Washington correspondent Kelly Meyer has the details.
High-stakes diplomacy in Asia. I'm Kelly Meyer, Washington correspondent with NewsNation. And President Trump kicks off his trip in the East in Malaysia, where he'll attend the summit for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, in part to combat the influence of China. He'll then fly to Japan, where he'll meet with the new Japanese Prime Minister. Following that, he will fly to South Korea, where he is expected to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The big topic will be trade. Current tariffs on China are just over 57%. In response, China tightened controls on exports of rare earth minerals, which are used in everything from computer chips to fighter jets. China processes most of the world's rare earth minerals, and President Trump hopes to negotiate with China to ease those restrictions. If a deal is not reached, he has threatened an additional 100% tariff on Chinese goods. I'm Kelly Meyer, and this is the NewsNation Political Minute.
Coming up, Walmart, America's largest private employer, is hitting pause on hiring employees who require H-1B visas. Your thoughts in our In the Comments segment. Then the weekend is packed with family-friendly activities. KTSM's Christina Rada has the details in today's Que Pasa. Thank you for watching KTSM 9 News First at 4, putting local first.
Tacoma with 3.99% APR financing. Catch spooky savings at 6330.
Welcome back. Well, Walmart, America's largest private employer, is hitting pause on hiring employees who require H-1B visas. The H-1B program allows employers to hire highly skilled non-U.S. citizens who often fill positions in tech, finance, and engineering fields. In September, President Donald Trump signed an executive order requiring a $100,000 fee for H-1B visa applications, which his administration claims has displaced American workers. Previously, the 3-year visas required a fee of $2,000 to $5,000 per petition. Of course, we shared this story to our social media accounts, and many of you had some thoughts that you did want to share. Philip Bacon writes, "Oh no, guess they should hire Americans then." Meanwhile, Hector Briones writes, "Just an FYI, the H-1B is for people mainly in the tech sector or highly skilled employees. So like programmers or computer engineers, for example, not the cashiers or stalkers, but good move overall." Octavia Torres says, "It's about time. I always wondered why they were working there without speaking English." Walmart's decision, first reported by Bloomberg News, is significant because the Superstore brand is the top retail chain using the H-1B program. More than 2,000 visas were approved for Walmart employees in the first half of 2025. Now, here at KTSM, we value your opinion and we want to hear from you. Make sure you are following us on all our social media platforms to keep in touch with us through the comments. Up next, Target planning on cutting close to 2,000 jobs. We'll tell you what is affecting this retail giant's decision. This is KTSM 9 News, first at 4.
There's cooling, but our deals are still hot. Aqua Living's inventory reduction sale. Go to hottubsusa.com.
The El Paso Center for Diabetes will be hosting their Diabetes Fall Fest later on today starting at 6, and everyone is invited. Individuals living with type 1 diabetes are highly encouraged to attend along with their families and caregivers. The event will be held at El Paso Center for Diabetes at their new location over on Montana. Expect to meet educators. You can also meet the team tours of the center's new facility. There will be family-friendly activities and costumes are welcome. So it should be a good evening to get on out and enjoy that fest. Things are looking pretty good on the weather front. Really, this weekend is just going to be perfect. We're looking at very ideal conditions, perfect to get out there and enjoy all the fall activities. But then we see a cool front later on in the week, and it's going to go ahead and bring those gusty, windy conditions, but not for long. And of course, we have the Halloween forecast on the board. So let's go ahead and just get into it. We were looking at some showers yesterday, but as of now, it looks like conditions have dried out for the most part. We are noticing some storms towards the east of us, but over here in the borderland, really a whole lot of nothing. We are continuing to dry out as we move through the rest of our 9-day forecast. For right now, we're currently at 79 degrees, some light winds at 14 miles per hour, and it looks like those wind gusts have finally calmed down. We're looking at 22 miles per hour, humidity at 20%, so relatively low. Over in Las Cruces, it looks like this data is starting to accumulate, so we'll go ahead and move past that. But we are just seeing a drop in temperatures for our Saturday. We go down to 78 degrees, very seasonal conditions, slightly raise back up for early in the week. And then we drop back down for our Wednesday, and that's when we're going to notice that cool front really taking effect before we jump right back up to more seasonable temperatures just in time for Halloween. Now, when we talk about our evenings, it looks like we're finally in the season where we're getting cooler overnight, even in those early morning hours, so perfect layering time. We will be dropping down to those low 50s here in El Paso and over in Juarez, 48 over in Las Cruces, Deming at 44, with Tirza at 45 degrees, and Alamogordo will be matching that number. As for tonight in El Paso, 53 degrees will be that low. We're looking at a few clouds, but mostly clear skies for a good portion of the evening. And of course, breezy conditions. Those winds are coming in from the west at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Really, for the rest of our 9 days, that is going to be the predominant theme. Winds from the west, other than that cool front that we'll be talking about in just a little bit. For Las Cruces, we're dropping down to 48 degrees, and again, a few clouds, but overall clear skies. Those wind gusts getting around 20 miles per hour as we continue to move throughout the rest of our overnight hours. Now, as we dry out, we're looking at a 6 for Saturday and Sunday in terms of allergens, and 7 for your Monday, so slightly higher, but again, not too bad. We've seen it around 12, so anything less than that, pretty ideal. Now, for the rest of our 9 hours, by the time we get to 8 p.m., clear skies for a good portion of that hour, 71 degrees as we continue to move throughout the rest of our evening. By midnight, we're down to 64, and we're looking at 62 for our 2 a.m. hour. Let's go ahead and talk about your 9 days, though. For your Saturday, 78 degrees, very breezy conditions. Very similar for Sunday, just slightly warmer. Come Monday and Tuesday, plenty of sunshine. We're in those low 80s. And then come Wednesday, we start to notice that cool front move in on our Tuesday evening. It's going to hit us for the Wednesday. That's when those temperatures are dropping down to those mid 70s. Conditions will be relatively windy to breezy, and again, that cooler conditions really going to just be noticed. For Thursday, we're down to 80, and then as we move out, we see our Friday at 81 degrees before we clear the way for just another beautiful weekend, very close to seasonable temperatures. Overall, looking really good for your 9-day forecast. But don't go anywhere. We have more news coming up. You're watching KTSM 9 News Plus.
Segment sponsored by your local Nissan dealers.
Welcome back. If you're ready to have a fun-filled weekend, this next report is for you. Our Christina Rada has put together a whole host of events happening in the Borderland this weekend in today's ¿Qué pasa?
Well, this week's ¿Qué pasa? Brought me to Concordia Cemetery. That's right, the historic Concordia Cemetery. And there's a good reason why we're here. This is Chris Martin. Chris, thank you for joining us. I want to ask you what everybody wants to know. What experience or experiences have you had at Concordia Cemetery?
I was doing some work here in the cemetery, and I was coming down this road right over here. And I noticed a gentleman right in these graves right over here. Slender gentleman wearing a white and blue plaid shirt and blue jeans. I thought he was just visiting a grave, not a problem. And didn't want to disturb him, so I just stayed in my truck when I didn't see him come back up. I got off the truck and I walked over, and it had rained like a couple days before, so all the dirt and sand was fresh. There were no footprints other than my own all the way out to that grave and back. So this weekend we have our annual Dia de los Muertos Festival. It is open to the public. The tickets are $12 for adults, $6 for children under $6, or correction, under 6 years old. It gets in free. We have entertainers, we have live music, we have vendors.
All right, well, it sounds like a great experience. I hope you come out here. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What about for the whole family? You want to have a scary experience? Why don't you go to Boo at the Zoo? Join the El Paso Zoo and Botanical Gardens Saturday 25th and Sunday 26th for Halloween fun. There will be games, animal encounters, candy stations, and much more. This Saturday, head to Escárate Park for the 2nd annual Fall Festival from 6 to 9 p.m. You'll enjoy music, food, trick-or-treating, a costume contest, and best of all, it's all free. All right, well, this is my ¿Qué pasa? Report for this week. Hope you have a very horrific weekend.
All right, that looks like a ton of fun, but don't go anywhere. We have more news coming up, a half hour of news and weather actually, so go ahead and stick with KTSM News first at 4.
what it does and how you can get it tonight at 6:30 on Studio 9.
Welcome back to KTSM 9 News First at 4. Bond has been set for a man accused of restraining his mom's ex-boyfriend in a deadly chokehold. We first told you about 26-year-old Jeremiah Aguilar last week. According to an arrest affidavit obtained by KTSM, El Paso County Sheriff's deputies responded to Winter Spring Place, all in response to a report of an unconscious man face down in the driveway. Now, when deputies arrived, they saw a woman performing CPR on 37-year-old Jerome Fanaro. Court documents say a fight broke out between Aguilar and Fanaro, which ended in Fanaro in a chokehold. Fanaro was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Aguilar's initial bond was set at $100,000. However, his attorney was able to lower that bond to $25,000, but he must check in with a parole officer and he cannot be rearrested. He also can't leave El Paso County. Voters in some school districts across El Paso will have their say on taxes. That includes the Socorro Independent School District, which is asking voters to approve a tax rate increase. Socorro IC says the tax rate could bring the district $49 million a year, which they say is needed for employee pay and to maintain buildings within the district. That rate totaling $1.06 per $100 valuation. SISD Superintendent James Vasquez says there are many upgrades needed across the district. He says that if both state propositions 11 and 13 pass, it would raise the homestead exemption, effectively lowering taxes.
But I know you're with me that we're going to turn El Paso County red this next election.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who is up for re-election in next year's midterm, making a stop in El Paso yesterday. The governor hosting a Get Out to Vote event in the Upper Valley with 17 proposed amendments to the state's constitution on the ballot. KTSM 9 News reporter Jesus Baltazar attended the event where the governor was greeted by both supporters and protesters.
Go vote yes today on all 17 of those ballot propositions, and you will have made the great state of Texas even better.
Abbott sought El Paso voters' support for all 17 proposed amendments to the Texas Constitution that are currently on the ballot, of which over half of them propose to reduce or outright ban certain taxes on homeowners and businesses that will end up costing local government entities revenue. But he also honed down on 3 other propositions.
Vote yes on Proposition 3 to ensure that our most dangerous criminals, murderers, rapists, and human traffickers, they will be kept where they belong, behind bars while they await trial. Vote yes.
He also discussed Proposition 4, which aims to allocate billions to fund water infrastructure improvements across the state.
Half of it will be used to fix broken and leaking pipes. The other half will be used for new water sources to make sure that future generations are going to have access to water.
And Proposition 14, which aims to add language in the Constitution specifying that non-U.S. citizens cannot vote.
We should only have voting in our elections United States citizens.
Abbott's event crashed by protesters denouncing Abbott and the GOP's moves at the state and federal level.
So many of the actions of the GOP have just been illegal, are hurting normal people. His gerrymandering, his attacks on people's health care, his attacks on immigrants.
Meanwhile, supporters energized to have the governor's presence in El Paso.
It was great to have Governor Abbott come visit us. You know, El Paso gets neglected a lot because we're run by so many tax and spend Democrats. So the governor knows the situation in El Paso. He wants to come help us.
That was Jesus Baltazar reporting. Early voting began on Monday and will run until Friday of next week before Election Day on November 4th. You can find all the election information you need by visiting our website, ktsm.com. Gadsden ISD has voted on an acting superintendent after their former superintendent announced his retirement on social media. During last night's board meeting, the district voted Nubia Tarazona to act as superintendent through December 31st. Tarazona served as the Director of Language, Equity, and Cultural Arts for the district. As KTSM reported, former Superintendent Travis Dempsey announced his retirement on the GISD Facebook page after 8 years on the job. Dempsey says he is leaving January 1st. Well, prices for beef are on the rise in the United States. Between January and August of this year, the price of beef per pound rose by more than $1. President Trump's proposal to lower the cost is to import more beef from Argentina, a move cattle ranchers and advocates call misguided. Capitol correspondent Dylan McKim spoke with the state's agriculture commissioner, who has his own ideas on how to help Texas cattle ranchers.
A little bit of a disagreement on how to lower the beef prices.
Sid Miller, the agriculture commissioner of the largest beef producing state in the country, is not seeing eye to eye with the president and his suggestion to import more beef from Argentina to lower costs for consumers. Miller says more focus needs to be on growing the supply of cattle in America, which is at its lowest in 75 years.
We just don't have beef to sell. That's the problem.
We need to reshore a lot of our industries in this country. And cattle production and beef production is one of them.
The Independent Cattlemen's Association of Texas does not support any increase in foreign beef to the American market. In fact, its director says he believes the beef is at a good value as ranchers deal with higher input costs.
He's not making hand over fist. He's paying off debt.
Miller released his own 5-step proposal to help Texas beef producers. One idea is to safely resume imports of cattle from Mexico, which has been paused because of the New World screwworm, a parasite that could wreak havoc on the cattle industry. That idea is not supported by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, but Miller also calls for some type of tax credit to incentivize ranchers to hold on to female cows.
That would encourage them. They would start keeping heifers immediately, and that rebuilds our herd.
At Lubbock Feeders, a West Texas feed yard, their cattle pens are half full. Manager Kyle Williams said supporting any plan to grow the cattle population will help beef prices in the long run.
You give an American an incentive, we're going to figure out how to make it happen. There's no doubt in my mind that we will.
In Austin, I'm Dylan McKim.
Earlier this week, the U.S. Department of Agriculture released its plan to help cattle ranchers. Part of the plan is increasing access to grazing on federal lands. All right, let's go ahead and take a break from all of our headlines to get another live look outside using our tower camera. Conditions are still looking really good, mostly blue skies, just a line of clouds over the sky though, really looking very ideal, a perfect fall day, very light breezes. Can't complain about the conditions for today, and it looks like we're cooling down currently across the borderland. We're looking at 73 degrees over in Las Cruces, 79 over in El Paso, very seasonable temperature, 77 over in Juarez, Alamogordo at 75 with Deming matching that number. Very cool over in Ruidoso, looking quite beautiful, 61 degrees, but Cloudcroft even cooler at 53 degrees. Now those wind gusts that we've been looking at, they're calming down as well. They're more on the mild end now. We did see them get upwards of 30 miles per hour earlier, but they're currently at 22 in El Paso, 26 over in Las Cruces, 19 over in Juarez, Deming at 24, Silver City at 22, Ruidoso 12, with Cloudcroft at 15. It looks like we are going to go ahead and follow this theme though throughout the weekend, even going into early next week for our Saturday and Sunday. Very breezy conditions. We're still close to seasonable temperatures though. 78 for your Saturday will be that high, 83 for Sunday, accompanied with those warm breezes, plenty of sunshine for Monday, but we do have a cool front on the way, and then I also have your Halloween forecast, so you're going to want to go ahead and stick around for that. So we will go ahead and put a pause on our weather for now and get back into our headlines. President Trump is ending all trade negotiations with Canada over recent TV ads critical of U.S. tariffs. Trump made the announcement on his Truth Social platform last night. The ad featured Ronald Reagan speaking about the negative effects of tariffs. The president claims it was done to influence court decisions. The post came after Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced plans to double exports to countries outside of the U.S. because of Trump's tariff threat. Also, the Canadian government is limiting how many vehicles Stellantis and GM can import tariff-free after the automakers announced they're moving some production in Canada to the U.S. Well, Congress hasn't been able to fund the government now for 24 days. Just like the rest of the nation, we wondered, why is it so difficult for Congress to agree on a budget? Washington correspondent Vinay Simla asked the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee and files this report.
Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution, the Appropriations Clause, gives Congress the power of the purse. Oklahoma Republican Congressman Tom Cole chairs the House Appropriations Committee. His goal is to pass 12 different funding bills every year to fund each part of the federal government. The last time all 12 of the appropriations bills were done separately, I think, was in 2006.
It's been a long, yeah.
It's been almost 20 years now. Why has that not, what you call regular order, why has that not happened?
People aren't willing to work to one another, work with one another together on this.
And he says the challenge is when the funding bill gets out of committee.
The committees do their work, but you still got to get 218 votes on the floor.
That's why Chairman Cole says Congress usually ends up passing a continuing resolution, keeping funding at current levels, or an omnibus, combining appropriations bills into a large spending package.
The percentage of the government that we control, the spending, has dropped in the last 40 years from about 45% to 26%.
His committee controls discretionary spending. Mandatory spending required by existing laws goes toward things like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. The Appropriations Committee doesn't get to control it, and it accounts for most of government spending.
It's really these other areas and other committees that have, authored legislation and not paid for them.
He says mandatory spending has contributed to the U.S.'s $37 trillion national debt. In Washington, I'm Vinay Simlat.
Well, in a consumer alert, Target announced it is eliminating about 1,800 corporate positions in an effort to streamline decision-making within the company. The company's chief operating officer issued the notice yesterday, and according to a spokesperson, about 1,000 employees are expected to receive layoff notices next week. The company also plans to eliminate about 800 vacant jobs. The cuts represent about 8% of Target's corporate workforce globally, although the majority of the affected employees work at the company's Minneapolis headquarters. Coming up, El Paso's Weiler Aerial Tramway is one step closer to reopening, but construction for Phase 1 currently underway. We hear what some of you have to say in our In the Comments segment. Thank you for watching KTSM 9 News First at 4, putting local first.
The KTSM 9 Plus streaming app is finally here, and it is absolutely free. And downloading it is super simple. On your Roku remote, hit the home button, head to the streaming store, search for KTSM 9 Plus, and click download. Once installed, you'll have instant access to live newscasts, weather updates, and exclusive local digital content.
I'm Isela Casas. You're watching KTSM 9 News, putting local first.
Well, good afternoon, Borderland. We are looking at very beautiful fall-like conditions for today. Mostly blue skies and very light breezes moving as we continue making our way through the rest of our Friday. Taking a look, though, at what to expect. We're looking at a perfect weekend, really, just in terms of weather. We do see a cool front, though, coming into our region later on. Gusty winds will be hitting midweek. And then, of course, our Halloween forecast. We're going to take a look at that in just a little bit. Focusing on our radar, though, right now we are looking at conditions for the most part relatively dry towards the east of us. There's quite a bit of storm activity, really, where we are seeing those outflow winds potentially hitting our region and parts of the Borderland area. But for right now in El Paso, plenty of sunshine, 79 degrees. Light winds moving at 14 miles per hour, and those wind gusts are sticking around 22 miles per hour. Over in Las Cruces, a little bit cooler at 72 degrees. Again, those winds are at 21 miles per hour, so a little bit more on the mild end, and wind gusts are at 25 miles per hour, where they will most likely stick as we go into our overnight hours. Taking a look at our temperature trend, though, we'll be hitting 78 degrees for tomorrow. We rebound a little bit up, going to those low 80s, and then we see a cool front hit, dropping us all the way to those mid-70s before we gradually climb right back up into those lower 80s. Let's go ahead and focus, though, on our lows for tonight. We are noticing it's finally that season where we're cooler in the evening and even early in the morning, so really a good time to start layering. 53 degrees for El Paso, 53 over in Juarez, Las Cruces around 48 degrees, TRC at 45 with Alamogordo matching that number. When we focus, though, for tonight here in El Paso, very ideal conditions if you have any Friday night plans. I think it's really a great night to just get outdoors and really enjoy the beautiful conditions. We're looking at a few clouds covering the sky, mostly breezy conditions, though, and those winds coming from the west at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Over in Las Cruces, 48 degrees. Again, just a few clouds here and there, but overall, we will maintain those gusty conditions and the lighter winds. For the rest of our allergy forecast for the weekend, we're looking at 6 and then 7 for our Monday. Let's go ahead, though, and focus on the rest of the 9 hours. And if you are heading outdoors, how to plan for that. For your 7 p.m. hour, we're looking at clear skies, 75 degrees. We drop down to 66 degrees come 10 p.m. And then as we continue to move throughout the rest of the overnight hours, we're looking at 62 degrees for 2 a.m. And then we will gradually just begin to continuously drop down until we get into the 50s range. Now, for the rest of our 9-day forecast, really the major theme is going to be sunny skies and the occasional windy day here or there. Let's go ahead and take a look. 78 degrees for your Saturday. We gradually warm up for our Sunday. We're looking at very warm breezes. For Monday and Tuesday, plenty of sunshine. But on Tuesday in the evening is when we see that cool front hit. It is going to drop us down to 75 degrees for our Wednesday, where we notice some windy conditions, but clear the way just in time for our Friday, where Halloween is looking good at 81 degrees. Now let's go ahead and take a look at traffic using our TxDOT traffic cameras. It is currently right now 4:49, so it's about that time when conditions are starting to really build up on the roads. We are noticing right now on Loop 375 and Socorro, it looks like it appears to be a stalled vehicle, so make sure you are being careful if you are planning on leaving out the door, that you not avoid the area, but just be careful and notice the rest of your drivers around you. I-10 and Copia, though, it looks like traffic is starting to build up a little bit over in this direction, but still really nothing too major. Well, a beloved El Paso landmark is one step closer to reopening. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department and the Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation will announce new developments to the Weiler Aerial Tramway. As KTSM previously reported, the tramway has been closed since 2018 due to safety and infrastructure concerns. In May, State Senator Cesar Blanco secured $7 million for the tramway, bringing the total state investment to $27 million for the restoration project. We shared this story to our social media accounts, and many of you had some thoughts that you wanted to share. Jesse Ben says, super, hope the city promotes it the right way so they can make money and try and stay open. Gino DeSantis says, my grandfather laid the original foundation for this project when it first opened years ago. Pretty cool to see this getting upgrades. And Ceci Reveles writes, barely. should have had this thing running a long time ago. About the only nice thing we have here in the city, build a nice amusement park. Now, construction is currently underway for the long-awaited improvements at the tramway site. In partnership with the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department says the project is currently on phase 1, which does include expanding parking, access to facilities, and visitor amenities. And here at KTSM, we do value your opinion, and we want to hear more from you. Make sure you are following us on all our social media platforms to keep in touch with us through the comments. Well, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. This is KTSM 9 News, First at 4.
Financial Fridays, sponsored by One Source Federal Credit Union.
Thanks for tuning in to another Financial Fridays. Do you have a will in place? What about a trust? I know these two things are rarely thought of, let alone talked about. But this type of planning is important. So let's get started. Do you know the difference between a will and a trust? A will is a plan for who will look after your children, what should happen to your assets, and how you like to be cared for when you need it. A trust helps you avoid probate by creating a complete trust-based estate plan for the protection and transfer of your most important assets. What are the benefits to both? Nominate a child pet guardian. Decide who will handle your affairs. Determine how your assets will be distributed. Specify your final arrangements. Exclude certain individuals from receiving your property, and so much more. As a valued member of One Source FCU, we want to help you ease the burden of your loved ones by having your wishes all in one place. Remember, we are here for you. Why? Because we're One Source. Of course.
Financial Fridays, sponsored by One Source Federal.
savings account at Rice Federal Credit Union. Go to KTSM.com and click on the contest tab to enter.
All right, we are getting a final look at your exclusive 9-day forecast for your weekend. Picture perfect, very breezy conditions, very seasonable temperatures, warm breezes for your Sunday. We warm up a little bit for our Monday and our Tuesday, plenty of sunshine. But then come Tuesday evening, we do have a cool front hitting. It is going to drop us down to 75 degrees for our Wednesday. It's also going to bring back those windy conditions, so those breezes will feel quite chilly. 80 degrees for your Thursday, though, and then we gradually warm up just in time for Halloween. The daytime will be mostly sunny. We are looking at temperatures around 81 degrees, so very enjoyable. And then come the evening, we're back to those cooler temperatures. So if you're wearing a costume out, just make sure you bring a jacket just to stay nice and cozy as you are trick-or-treating. But don't go anywhere. In just a couple of minutes, we will have Christina Rada for KTSM 9 News Now. Have a great evening.
Hair and wardrobe provided by